Hello and welcome back to my channel. I started my houseplant journey almost exactly 4 years ago now. I started getting houseplants in the beginning of summer 2019, I think, and it was a little bit before I got my crested gecko Roger. The two sort of obsessions went hand in hand, but it feels more responsible to have a gajillion houseplants than to have a gajillion reptiles, you know what I mean? Some people can handle having multiple reptiles, but I don't have the space, and I don't really have the physical capabilities to kind of wrangle multiple animals, that sort of thing. Crested gecko, nice small, one of them, 70-something houseplants. But in that time of me having houseplants, I have learned a lot. And a lot of it has been trial and error. Like, I have watched a gajillion hours of YouTube. I almost exclusively watch plant YouTube these days. That's why I really enjoy making plant videos, even though they don't perform as well as my makeup ones, because it's what I'm watching, so I like making them. And I've been reading books and that sort of thing. I even met Daryl from the Houseplant Journal. I met him at a local expo. He was there signing books, and everyone else was there buying brand new copies of his book, and I had my dirty, torn, ripped up one that I had for 4 years. I kind of thought it might be fun to share some of the things that I have learned over the years that work for me very specifically. So you might not necessarily agree with some of these, we'll call them tips, but not really tips. Some of these things that I've learned, I guess, because they might not be great for every environment, and they might not be things that other plant YouTubers have said. They might be things that other plant YouTubers actually actively talk against. But they're things that work for me in my environment. Here, I live in southern Ontario. My room is dry. It's so dry. I have a humidifier going almost all the time for the plants. And for me, honestly, because my skin gets so dry. It's, it is what it is. It gets really hot in here in the summer and really cold in here in the winter. I swear they didn't insulate the back half of this house well enough. And this is just the things that I've learned over the time. So I'm just going to take you through some of the things that I've learned. These aren't particularly ordered, but if I were to order them, rule number one, above all else, would be trust your gut. They say your gut is your second brain, and I can get into a whole tirade about this, about how women in particular are taught to sort of ignore their gut, even though sometimes I think it's the smartest part of you. But when it comes to houseplants, I'm a very scheduled, routine person. I like to know what I'm doing this day and this time and what time I have to leave and when I'm filming at this time, I'm doing my hair at this time and my makeup at this time. And I like structure, I like schedule. So if I download an app, like a plant app, and it tells me to water a plant every 12 days, every part of me wants to do that. I want to follow it. If I Google a plant and it tells me to do that, I want to follow it. But sometimes that doesn't work for your environment. And if I feel the soil and it still feels wet, but the app or the internet or whatever is telling me to water it, I should go with my gut. Not to mention, one of the first things I bought was a moisture meter, and I have recommended it as well, and I guess in a way I would still recommend it. But I don't like the moisture meter that much, because I have found that the moisture meter for me sometimes says a plant is dry when it doesn't feel dry to me. So go with your gut. If it still feels damp or wet or whatever, and you don't think you should water it, don't water it. If it's only been a couple of days since you watered it, but it's dry as a bone again anyway, there's probably something wrong. Water it again. Humans have been taking care of plants since the beginning of humans, since we first crawled out of the ocean. So I really think that a lot of plant care is instinctual. If you think a plant needs more light, just give it more light. Whatever your gut is telling you to do with the plant, just do it. If you think it should be chopped, if you think you should cut the roots back, just do it. Your gut probably knows best, if we're being completely honest. And that is something that I have had to learn, because I get very well, but I'm not an expert and I don't know what I'm doing, and these people on the internet know. But do they? Do they really? They might know, but they also might just know for their environment, and they just might know what has worked for them, and what has worked for them might not necessarily work for you. For me, I keep a whole bunch of wooden chopsticks now, and I use those wooden chopsticks instead of the moisture meter. The moisture meter is almost completely obsolete to me now, because I find the wooden chopsticks to be a better take of if the plant is dry all the way through or not. But it depends. It depends on you and your gut, and I really do think that most plant care ends up being instinctual. And something that kind of goes along with that is sort of my second thing that I've learned, and that is plants are much more resilient than a lot of the internet will lead you to believe. Plants, not only do they want to live and want to thrive, odds are the conditions in your house or in your room are not as harsh as the conditions that they were created in nature. Okay, we do have some houseplants in the market that were created in a lab or whatever, but most of them are naturally occurring, and you're like, the environment out there is crazier than the environment in your house. So if you happen to knock off a leaf by accident, if you chop it and you chop off a wrong spot, the other day I knocked off a new growth on my money tree, like, does it suck for half a second? Yeah, sure, but honestly, like, it's not the end of the world. Especially if you're like me and you keep mostly inexpensive plants. It's just a plant. It's just a plant. Like, you're gonna be okay. This is a fun hobby and a fun sort of experiment thing to do. And I want to keep it that way. I never want it to be something that it's like a chore. Once plant care feels like a chore, then I'm getting rid of them. Like, I want to enjoy this as long as I can. So keeping it easy and keeping it low stress and not caring if I accidentally flub something up, you know, that's my second tip. Tip number 3, now this is kind of controversial. I can't keep a plant in the soil it comes in. I know everything you'll ever read and every YouTuber ever tells you not to repot a plant as soon as you get it. Wait 2 weeks, let it, whatever. I can't do that. My friend Karina, she runs Chlorophyll Culture on Instagram if you want to go follow her. She explained it to me best. She said, what is a nursery or a garden center or whatever going to sell you a plant in? They're not going to sell it to you in the soil that's best for the plant. They're going to sell it to you in whatever's cheapest. And that made so much sense to me because I had so much trouble with plants in the soil that they come in. Because it's that really sort of dense peat mixture, I think. And it like dries, but when it dries it gets like rock hard and it becomes like hydrophobic, and I always felt like when I did eventually repot the plant, there was so much broken rootage in the soil, and it was just like root rotting and waterlogged, and it never dried out, and then when it did dry out it was rock solid. So fuck that. Unless it's a place where you know that the soil is good soil, I am taking it out. I'm cleaning the roots off. Will the plant be shocked for a couple of weeks after I do that? Yeah. Will it lose some leaves? Probably. Is it worth it in the end? To me, 100%. Because I will water it better. I will be able to keep an eye on it better. I will know its sort of growing conditions, and it will just overall work better for me and my environment. I mix my own soil, which is something that other people think different ways about. I've seen some people say don't do that. I've seen some people say do that. Whatever. I think it's a very personal thing. If you want to, go for it. If you don't. I take the Pro Mix potting soil or whatever it's called, and I mix it with extra perlite, extra pumice, extra orchid bark, but I just use the Repta bark. And I also add in a little bit of charcoal and a little bit of worm castings, and I just get it to this like really sort of, I don't know, really airy mixture that I know will drain completely, because that's what I want. I want the plant to completely dry out before I water it again, or else you're going to get stagnant water in there and you're going to get root rot. And that's what was happening to me a lot, I think, in the beginning of my plant journey. A lot of my plants were dying, and I think it's because I was overwatering and it was in that horrific, dense soil mixture. So that combination was killing my plants. So now that I use pretty much just my own soil mixture, they're all doing much better. The next tip is one that I'm very sad to say that I do agree with the internet on, and that is that cleaning your plant leaves is actually important. For the longest time, I was just letting dust accumulate on them and not doing anything. You really do notice a difference in how they look and how they behave when you clean them off. I take the Bios Yucca extract and I mix it with water, and I keep it in a little spray bottle, and I just spray the leaf and wipe it down with a paper towel, or I have microfiber gloves, which, I mean, again, some people feel some kind of way about the microfiber gloves, because what if you had pests and you're just passing it from plant to plant? I don't have pests. Even if I did, they'd get passed from plant to plant anyway, because they're all squished together. But cleaning your leaves is actually something that matters. And I don't do it as often as I should, but I do it more often now than I used to. Tip number 5. Now, this is one that I've kind of stuck with from the beginning, but I just felt was worth reiterating, and that is that expensive plants are not worth the hype. I am so sorry. And this makes me sound like a little bit of a hypocrite, because I did buy the Thai Constellation when she was $100, and now she's $60 already. Like, the prices have already gone down that far. But here's the thing, like, the plant boom in 2020, I didn't fall victim to any of that. I didn't buy any of those really expensive, for no reason, houseplants, and I'm very proud of myself for that. Here's the thing. These houseplants, they're really cool. They're really cool to look at. They're just houseplants. And B, odds are they're cool, they come out, they're really expensive, and then you just wait a little bit and they start getting mass produced, and then the price gets dramatically chopped. Like, if you just hold on a little bit and you just give yourself a little bit of patience, it's gonna be so cheap, okay? Do you remember when the Pink Princess was like $200? Okay, I just bought the one that I have over there for $20. And the Pink Princess was like multiple hundreds of dollars, like just a couple of years ago. There's a plant that I want right now, and it's an alocasia. We'll talk about that again in a second. And I really want it, but it's $40, and because it's an alocasia and I'm likely to kill it, I don't want to buy it at that price. So I'm gonna kind of wait and see if it goes down. And if it doesn't go down, I'm gonna buy a different alocasia and see if I can keep it alive. And then if I can, then we'll move up to the one that I want. But I don't know. I don't want to pay $40 for it, especially if it's likely that I'm going to kill it. Which brings us to the last tip that I wanted to give you. Sort of a bonus tip, if you will. Not every plant is for everyone. Sometimes you just have to know when to give up. And that is something that I've struggled with my whole life. Like, I am not a quitter to an annoying degree. Like, I'm on probably my millionth Venus flytrap over there because I insist on getting good at it, but I've killed all the other ones. And a plant genus that I've had to just completely give up on is peperomia. I can't do it. Something about the peperomia, every time I get them, I let them dry out. I don't know if it's too much or too little, but all the leaves start falling off, and then I can't do it. I've tried a million times, can't do it. My poor grandmother keeps buying them for me as gifts because she just thinks they're cute, and I don't know how to tell her that I keep killing them, and I keep killing them. And then in a similar vein is the Pilea peperomioides, the big Chinese money plant, friendship plant, whatever. And a friend of mine just bought me a big one for my birthday, and it lost most of its leaves within the first couple of days. It's not dead yet. This is the first time I've kept one alive, and it's been a little over a month. But sometimes you just have to give up, man. Like, life is too short. I'm out here buying a million peperomias trying to keep one alive. And I can't do it. Same with alocasia. Like I said, I bought a black velvet alocasia. I brought it home. Within like 2 days, the leaves were completely flopped over, completely limp. No leaf Viagra. And I couldn't, like, I put a stick and I tied them up to try to get them back up, but they were just completely floppy. And I watered them, and I was like, maybe this is what they need, but no, and it was bad. The weird thing about that story, as sort of an aside, is that I cut the leaves off and I decided this was stupid, so then I threw the bulbs into the gecko tank for the isopods to eat, and it's actually sprouting. So not only did the isopods not eat them, but they rooted into the dirt in the isopod tank, and now they're growing. So that's fun. I struggle with alocasia. I struggle with peperomia. Those are like my big ones that I struggle with. Calathea is a genus that a lot of other people seem to struggle with. I don't struggle with them as much as everyone else. I don't know why. I think it's maybe because I'm an overwaterer and they like their water. So we get along well. They want to be overwatered. I'm an overwaterer. It's great. I also don't really have a lot of cactus or succulents in general, but that is mainly because I just find them kind of boring. Cactus are really notoriously slow growers, and I don't have time for that. I want to watch things grow. I want to watch things change. I had a bunny ear cactus, but something I didn't know about the bunny ear cactus when I bought it is that they leave, like, it's not like spiky like a typical cactus. It has like little tiny prickles, like super small, and they get like stuck in your hands, and they also like shed. So one day it fell over and it got these little tiny like spikes everywhere, and it was just awful, and I got mad and I threw it out. And honestly, I only kind of regret it. It was a very cute plant to look at, but it was just not sensical to have it around because it was causing me so much grief. So yeah, cactus and succulent I don't have, but that's less because I have a couple of succulents. I can't say that, but cacti, I don't have because I find them boring. Peperomia, I don't have because I just can't do them. Same with alocasia, although I haven't given up on alocasia the way I've given up on peperomia. And sometimes you just gotta learn when to call it quits, man, and that is for all things in life, not just plants. Sometimes giving up is the right answer, okay? Sometimes giving up is the right thing, as Taylor Swift said. So anyway, these are some of the plant tips and stuff that I've learned over the years as a plant girly in my plant journey. Of 4 years. I'm sure I will learn more things over the years, and then I will attempt to share that wisdom with you. But until then, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you have any other tips or tricks or things you learned, or maybe something you learned from this video or something you learned elsewhere. You know, I don't know anything about outdoor plants because that's on the ground and I'm in a chair, and so it's a whole thing. So if you have any tips for out there, please let me know. I'd love to hear. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!